Good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to our FATCA CRS, a complete solution webinar. My name is Roger Cyrus. I'm the Managing Director of Global International Management, and we're organizing this webinar in a partnership and within an alliance with TAINA Technologies and also Transworld Compliance. So I will shortly go to the next slide to introduce you to the speakers. So the speakers that will be presenting this webinar today will be myself, Roger Cyrus, and then we will also have Rashid Khan, who will introduce himself in a minute, and also Aishani Meyer. So Aishani, ladies first, maybe you want to do a short introduction, and then we hand it over to Rashid to do a short introduction, and then we move on, and then I will move on with the introduction slide. Is that a good plan?
Sounds a good plan. Thank you very much, Rocher, for this opportunity. I'm very delighted to be sharing a webinar with you and with Rashid from TAINA. My name is Eugenie Meyer, working for Transworld Compliance for 5 years. Originally, I come from Thomson Reuters, working for the AML database, the PEPs, and the OFAC sanctions list, etc. I've worked there for almost 10 years, so I come from the compliance side, and now I've been working for the last 5 years with Transworld Compliance, doing only FATCA and CRS compliance.
Okay.
Rashid?
Rashid?
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Rashid Khan. I'm the Managing Director of TAINA Technologies here in the Americas. I oversee a lot of our interactions with our clients, making sure that their needs are met, but also maintaining the platform compliance, ensuring that we have a robust product that meets all of the regulatory needs. Prior to joining TAINA, I spent 20 years overseeing tax operations for a large financial institution. I've been doing tax operations for the past 30 years.
Okay, thanks, Rashid. Well, once again, my name is Roger Cyrus. I'm a certified public accountant. I have a background as an auditor, worked for the Big Fours for about 10 plus years. And now I'm the Managing Director of Global International Management, LLC. So if I switch to the next slide, short agenda, we'll have a short introduction. And then we're going to talk about the rule-based reporting, FATCA and CRS rules and regulations for Model 1 and Model 2 jurisdictions. We will talk about data processing, the importance of data processing. How do you make sure that you capture all the changes that are going on in your database? How do you make sure that you request the information in a correct way and that you also have an audit trail? And then we will talk about an holistic approach. And in point 5, we will be having questions and answers. Also, feel free to point out any questions during the webinar by using the Q&A. So we can accumulate those questions and we can also address them in point 5. So let's go to a short introduction. What is the status regarding FATCA and CRS? In the past, we have been seeing that the IRS have undertaken some FATCA crackdown activities. They were going after responsible officers, compliance officers. Some of them have been jailed. Some of them have received fines in the past. So that is really something that we probably will see once again going forward in 2021. Because if you would look at the GAO report of 2019, we all know what happened in 2020 when we had to deal with COVID and the impact of COVID. So everything has been slowed down. And within the GAO report of 2019, the institution is noticing that the IRS should probably do more with regards to enforcing FATCA rules and regulations. So then in 2020, COVID hit. So we really expect that while everything is starting to normalize in 2021, that we will see some follow-ups from the IRS in making sure that jurisdictions comply. Another bullet point, the last one, there is still a great call for transparency. Transparency for FATCA and CRS. And what I always explain, FATCA is a bilateral agreement between the US and an individual country, or between the US and an individual financial institutions. So people could say that is something from the US. Maybe they have a valid point over there. But if you would look at CRS, the Common Reporting Standards, in principle, that has nothing to do with the US, but that is a multilateral agreement. And that has to do with several countries exchanging information. So in general, we really see a greater call for transparency for tax reporting. And we believe that this won't go away. Sometimes we see that institutions or people complain, why do we need to comply with this? I always tell them, as an audit accounting and consulting firm, we don't write the rules. The only thing that we do is we know that the rules are out there, and we are helping financial institutions and individuals to comply, because we don't expect that this will go away anytime soon. And hopefully we can make your life easier with our holistic approach. So with that said, I want to turn it over now to Eugenie. Eugenie will be talking primarily about the reporting part. So Eugenie, take it away.
Yeah, you have to stop sharing so I can share, please. Excellent. Okay. I still cannot. What's happening? You cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing.
Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Yes, I think so. Good. I think you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. So I'm going to show you the solution for your CRS and FATCA reporting. A little bit more background about TransCompliance. The company was founded in 2014 by a group of experts in IT compliance and taxes. We started with FATCA ONE for a financial institution, as we just started with FATCA reporting. Later on, we and a lot of FATCA reporting in Model 1s to local tax authorities. Then there was the demand for financial institution in non-IGA countries. So we built as well the direct delivery through SFTP with the IRS. Later on, 2017, CRS came on board, and we rebranded everything in 2018. I think it was to CRS FATCA ONE. That's the product name. And we also implemented the CRS reporting. In the same year, we also expanded to CRS FATCA ONE for tax authorities. So it's not only a platform for the financial institution, we also one more step ahead to the tax authorities, where a tax authority can collect the XMLs from their financial institution and exchange it with IRS and or CTS with all the other committed countries. Yeah, this year, we're expanding the version for tax authorities with country by country exchange of tax ruling, and everything was included in the version 2. Yeah, for the CTS, there's a lot going on there. Yeah, and so as you can see, we only are experts on CRS and FATCA. Yeah, as well for the financial part, financial institution side, as well for the government side. But we only do CRS and FATCA and, country by country exchange of tax ruling, but we're basically specialized in CRS and FATCA. We help you report that. We have offices in the USA, Colombia, and Chile, and we have partnerships worldwide. We can create common reporting standard XMLs in more than 65 countries. Common reporting standard, although the local requirement for XMLs are not standard at all. A lot of countries, they have very specific XMLs, and we've been specializing in helping you, the clients, to create those XMLs in the correct format, in the correct language. Yeah, and as well, FATCA we can deliver in over more than 100 countries. We offer support in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Dutch. Yeah, so what basically is transfer compliance? We help you to report. We have a very fantastic tool to report your data. And not only to report, we also help you to clean the data. Very simple system is 3 simple steps. First, load your data into the system and apply the correct rule base. I'll get to the rule base in the next slide. Load your data can be through web services, through the API, through Excel sheets, manual, quite some ways of loading your data. Then the classification, once you apply the rule base, there's a classification. You go through remediation. Flags will be raised for minor deficiencies. There will be yellow flags. For major deficiencies, there will be red flags. And green when the data is complete. It's either reportable or not reportable, but data, that means you have clean data. And after you remediate, you clean your data, you can go to reporting. And before creating the final XML, you can validate the XMLs, and you can revise all your XMLs one by one. And not only in XML, you also can check it in PDF. We'll get that through. I will show that in a second. You either create at the end the final XML that you download at your desktop and upload it to your local tax authority, or when it is possible, and we do have the requirements, we will build the bridge for the automated delivery. So we can do that with IRS, we can do it with the SAT in Mexico, we can do it with the tax authority in Spain, and some others. So if we do have the requirements through SFTP or web services, we will build that. We will try to make you report and to help you and to do it the easiest way possible. The rule bases, you always have to see, one is for the US because we're looking for US citizens, one for the CRS because we're looking for tax residencies. It's something difficult, that's different. So different flags will be raised, and then also the XMLs, the outcome will be different. The coding within the XML is different. And sometimes, the transmission, depends on the IGA for FATCA, for example. So that's all being programmed in a rule base. Rule bases are very flexible, customizable. We always program that together with the client. We will not do that alone. We are not specialists on local law, on the local guidance. So we always do this together with the client. So if a client says we can, the manual review, so for the high value accounts is 1 million. If a client says, I don't want a flag for 1 million accounts, I want them for 10 million accounts, perfect, no problems. It's customizable, according to your client's needs. You choose file types, engine types, what countries do you have to report for, what kind of flags do you want for the tax ID number, maybe for a date of birth, etc. Do you want to convert the currencies, everything into a dollar, or you don't want to use the currency conversion? So the rule bases are flexible and customizable. And that's what you're gonna apply when you load your data. The remediation of data, data cleansing can be done within the FATCA ONE system. You can clear all the flags. You can do it also well on your Excel sheet and then load it again, or you can do it in your core system and then extract your data again. Or you have API bilateral, then it's going to be easier. The flags, everything can be downloaded in Excel and XML. So you can share it with your team. And then the reporting of data, it's the last revision, either in XML or PDF, and then the validation of the XML. We mirror the XML per record. It's not the final one, it's still for revision. And we'll create a FATCA or a CRS PDF form, which is basically the XML, but in a very readable and very easy text format. And then the reporting of data, you either download, when you submit it, you either download the final XML on your desktop, or you can monitor the automated delivery. If everything goes through, we will get the message back from the IRS, from the tax authority in Spain or from Mexico. What is the holistic approach? What's the idea of this webinar? I'm going to show you how you can clean your data, how you can create your XML. First of that, you have to load your client data into CRS FATCA ONE, and you will be surprised how many clients will see, especially red flags, missing country codes, and our system will try to obtain a FATCA status. If it cannot get the FATCA status, you will get a red flag. Yeah, so you can download that flag report, and if you have a lot of flags and you don't know what to do, so the holistic approach is for all your consultancy services, you can contact Roger Cyrus of Global International Management. Yeah, and if you need the self-certifications, you need how to collect it, how to validate your forms. Yeah, this is where Rashid of TAINA will come in. So it can be very holistic, it can be a very complete process. Yeah, and once everything is being clarified, yeah, you can check for minor deficiencies in the remediation and then convert your data into the correct XML schema. Yeah, so let's go and dive into CRS FATCA ONE. I'm timed out, of course. It always happens. So the login, you will be with your email and the password. And the homepage, this is new, this is what we just launched. It will open with the world map, yeah, and with the deadlines. And if you have submitted data, it will give you a report of the counts per country that you have submitted. Yeah, a calendar, batches by rule basis, and the user login. This is our homepage. And then below the 3 steps that I was just talking about: choose upload data, load your data, clean your data, remediation, and report and create your final XML. So let's go to choose upload data. I have to remove this a bit out of the way. And as you can see here, I have some batches. Yeah, we are, the system can handle multi-GINs, multi-jurisdictional. It's a very user-friendly. We work with you with the setup depending on the needs of your financial institutions. So what you have to do is create a batch. You have to choose, am I going to do CRS or am I going to do FATCA? Because different rules. Curaçao. Yeah, let's do CRS, Curaçao, for example. And then you select, if you have multi-GINs, yeah, you're multi-jurisdictional, you have to select, okay, which country am I going to report for? Yeah, and that's what you select. And as you saw, CRS report CRS, I selected the rule base. So this is what a rule base looks like. This is already programmed. The starter citizenships, each country has a list of their reportable jurisdictions that will be programmed. The thresholds, the flagging rules. In this case, we need the MDES XML schema. Yeah. Put a yellow flag for TIN required, no currency conversion, for example, the system can do it. And it's all being programmed. So this is what's going to be applied to your data. So as I said, now you have to load your client data. That can be done either through the web services. I cannot show you that, but we do have those APIs. And we have different kinds of sheets, multiple sheets, single sheet, trust fund. I'm not going to bore you with that. I just want to show you, because I'm going to load the multiple sheets, and the more information you have, the better the remediation will work. So it's a lot of work to get your client data into the system, but once you clean it, reporting is going to be easier over the years. So the more information you have, like, you have the addresses, do you have the self-certification, yes or no? Because if you do have the self-certification, the system won't raise the flags because you have cleared, you should have a very clean record. Yeah, but if you know the country of birth, a telephone number, instructions to transfer, hold mail, power of attorney, all those indicia fields, and the system will raise flags accordingly. So with a multiple spreadsheet, that's what we always recommend if you want to do your data cleansing. And the more information you have, the better. Yeah, it's also here for the account opening date, so the system can filter on the pre-existing account versus the new accounts. Yeah, so you can either load it one by one, or you can drag and drop them into your batch. Yeah, the rule base will be applied. The status, the green, this means that the upload is correctly. If it's not correct, this will be red. And when you double click it, you will have here a summary of the load, and it will show a red X if the load is not correct. Yeah, so this is step one. Create a batch. Who is going to report, what year, what rule base, and you load your data into the batch. Then you go to remediation, and as you can see, the system will raise flags. Yellow flags, minor deficiencies; red flags, major deficiencies or missing data; green flags with a check, everything is clear, this one is good to go, this one is good to report. And then we have green, they are either reportable as a substantial owner, or it's green, we have all the data and it's not reportable. For example, here we have Joe from United States, do not report, because a US citizen is not reportable under CRS in his case. Yeah, might be some might be reportable for both, but in this example, Joe is not. So the yellow flags, you can click on yellow flags, and you can see here, yellow flag, incorrect TIN format. View the required format. We have the list, what the OECD publishes on the tax identification numbers programmed in our system. And we will raise flags accordingly. And it depends on you. Yeah, so it's 9 to 12 digits. Here you say edit, and you see here there's a number. If you have a photocopy of that number, you say, I'm going to report as is. I do not have more numbers. So you can raise the flag, report as is, see photocopy attached. You can clear the flag, and if you do have a copy of the TIN format, you can enter that here. So you can say this is just a copy. You select order. Yeah, and you select any. And as you can see here on the right quadrant down, everything what you do is being logged. All activities is, the system will save who has done what at what time to clear the flags. Yeah, also, as you can see, we can add documents. Here we have space for for your case management. Here you can attach W8 to W9s. But what we don't do, and what TAINA does, is the validation of those records. Yeah, but we do have the placeholder for it. So this is the activity log. And Juan Alberto will be now green. As you can see, it changes the flag. And if I go here on the right and I click on his detail report, we have an audit log. So everything what you do to the flag. So here you see the user Eugenie. Yeah, I added a copy. And then here an activity. I cleared the flag and I uploaded a document. Yeah, you could print this, and you could have it signed off by your management if that's necessary. And this way you have to click on all the flags. Red flags are major deficiencies, very important. So here we have a country code. So here you say Susanna. Susanna is from the United States. She has a US Social Security number. Everything looks like US. And then you see a Spanish country code. She lives in Madrid, or she has an address in Madrid. Is she a Spanish tax residency or not? We raise the flag. Yeah, so you will need her self-certification. You have to obtain her status. Yeah. So, and it depends on how you clear this flag, if she will be reportable or not a tax resident in Spain. If you put that, she will become not reportable. And here you could add the self-documentation, the self-certification to it. So it's very important. So here the red flags, for example, here, there is no country code and there is no city. Yeah, so it means if the address is field, these are especially the country code and the city mandatory fields for the XML creation. If you do not clear those flags, they will not be included in the final report. Yeah, red flags must be cleared. Yeah, you can also directly edit them if you need to add some information. You also can check and edit the balance information, etc. And then, for example, here, Aaron Quadron, he's from France. He does not have a balance, but as you can see, he's a substantial owner on CRS. The correct term is controlling person. Yeah, and you see here the relationship with the entity. As you also can see here, you see so there's none. It is mandatory to disclose the relationship and the relationship type for CRS. Yeah, so here you also can check if that's all correct. Now, what I just did, I went back and I clicked on the entities because, of course, we also handle entities, and the same, we have yellow flags. We raise flags for the incorrect formats, red flags if there is a major deficiencies, green reportable, or green report. We have the data and it's not reportable. And also on the hierarchy, you can see the relationship with its controlling persons or substantial owners works exactly the same. So this is the cleaning process. And then we'll go, so in remediation, you can click on the flags. What you also can do in reporting, you can go to reports, we can click on the detail report, and then here what you can do, you can export all the flags what we just saw in remediation. Yeah, so here you can, it's either for division or you say, okay, we cannot identify the status. I need the cell certifications. Yeah, this one has 4 red flags, so there is nothing known about the jurisdictions. You can see it very easily in an Excel format. Or if you want to export it back to your core system, yeah, we also raise it in an XML format. Yeah, so this is all about the remediation. Then we go to reporting, how to obtain the final XML. You can include yellow flags. Those are minor deficiencies. And here, what is it? When you state your data, the system will pull all the reportable records. Yeah, so when you go back to remediation, you can see all the ones that are staged are pulled. And for example, all the red flags, it's do not report, and they are still there. They're not being reported. Yeah, we are not going to include records that are not complete or that we know that have errors and that will be rejected by your local tax authority. Yeah, so here we have Francis from Germany. So here you see an XML, you can click on that and you can double check. This is just for revision. In the XML, so what you see here, it's always per record, and you will always see OECD 11 or FATCA 11 because this will always be test data. Yeah. And here you can check is everything correct, is the CRIP or the tax ID information, identification number, the reporting entity correct, is the name, the address, yeah, from the bank, from the reporting FI, is everything correct? And here below here, you see the information for the account holder. Yeah, so you can see here that her name is Frances Pfeiffer, she's from München, and then here you see her account balance. Yeah, and she has 2 payment codes, some interest and some gross receipts. Yeah, I can read XML. A lot of people cannot read XML. Yeah, what we do, what we create is a CRS report in a very easy to read text format. So here you see exactly the same information as in the XML. This is the Curacao Bank. If everything is correct, address, the tax ID number. Then here in part 2, we have the account holder. Is everything correct? She's an individual. This is her team. It's not correct. Yeah, her date of birth. And then here in part 4, you have the financial information. If part 2 is an passive NFFE with substantial owners, yeah, the system will display the substantial owner information. The PDFs, if you have lots of records, yeah, we always recommend to download all the PDF in one file. Those PDFs is for the revision of your data, as well. If everything your data is correct and you're gonna continue submitting these data, you can save it off, and it will be helpful if there is any audit purposes. Yeah, if you get an auditor or maybe a regulator coming to visit you and they want to know what have you done, yeah, you have the audit logs, and you also have the CRS or PD or the FATCA forms to show them exactly what you have reported. Then down here you see validate. Validate is basically that the system checks if all the mandatory fields in the XML, are they in correct format and are they complete? We cannot send anything against the DTD validation. Yeah, so if there's a country code missing or wrong country code, if a date of birth format is not correct, or if for a CRS, if you did not add the correct relationship type, here the error will pop up and say you have to correct, for example, record 1222, yeah, and you have to go back to remediation, correct it, and then stage it again, yeah, in order to report it. Yeah, so then here the send button will be unchecked and you cannot include that record until you clear it. Yeah, so we try to avoid by all means that you don't send incorrect XMLs to the tax authorities. So then submit. This is my test system. Yeah, the clients will of course have production privileges. And what you do that is results are ready. Yeah, and you can go to the dashboard or directly go to the dashboard here. In the dashboard here, this under file, this is the XML that you download on your desktop, and it will contain all the reportable records. And this is the XML that you will have to upload at your local tax authority. Yeah, and then here we have a receipt. The receipt is a summary, yeah, who has created the XML, what was the date and the time, because there are deadlines, yeah, how many records, and a summary of all the records. Also very good to know is within the system, you can either resend, correct, or void. So let's say Francis, oh, I shouldn't have sent Francis by mistake, she was included. Within the system, you can void it. You say, okay, system, please look for all the records to be voided. In this case, it's only one. And then here, what we have is avoided. So as you go here, you will see OECD 13. Yeah. And the system automatically will look for the original core docref ID, yeah, and will create new docref IDs. All automated within the system. Yeah, so these are the 3 steps. Choose upload data, step 1. Create a batch, apply a rule base, load your data. Step 2, clean your data. And here is where Rocher and Rashid can help you. And then reporting is create your final XML and submit it to the tax authority. Yeah, so let me show you, I think this one that I submitted. So this is a FATCA rule base, Aruba reports FATCA. And as you can see in its dashboard, Aruba reports directly to the IRS. So this is an automated submission. So we have here a status that the file has been downloaded by the IDES. Yeah, and we get a message back from the IRS. Yeah, in this case, I submitted test data into the production system and they're telling me not to do that. Yeah, but we'll get the automated messages back, and also, yeah, we'll translate that into a text format. So the XMLs that you receive as an answer from either the IRS or the local tax authority, we will translate that into text format, easy to read. Yeah, so here, this is the action request, telling me not to send test data. I think this was very quick about our tool. It's a very user-friendly, 3 simple steps, multi-tenant, multi-gin, multi-jurisdictional, and me, Eugenie, as Director of Support, we are here to help you. And Rashid can help you to collect and validate the self-certification. So I like Rashid. I'd like to give word to you.
Yes.
So you can show our customer the next step in how to report CRS and FATCA, and how to report clean data, how to obtain it, how to make it easier for them.
Absolutely. And if I have some time, maybe we'll be able to do a live form. But who is TAINA? TAINA is a solution for financial institutions. We provide document validation services that allow you to collect and validate the information that would normally be required for self-certification under FATCA and CRS. We do have multiple methods for collection and processing of document. We have our mobile, we have an online platform, but also we have a back office scan facility that allows you to take printed versions, upload them, and then it will actually digitize and validate the particular forms. How do we add value? Well, through our process, we create efficiency, and we create reliable results that take out the user error that would normally occur with someone just doing a surface review of a document and then analyzing whether or not that document is valid or not valid. Many institutions today, we have found, still rely on checklist process. This actually removes the checklist process, mitigates the risk that someone may have missed something in the checklist, and allows you to become more efficient and effective. We have looked at some of our clients, spoken to our clients, many of which have seen a 75% faster processing time and validation. So where you have a form that is 8 pages, it takes minutes to do. It takes a minute or two to execute, as opposed to 15 to 20 minutes to review the entire page and make sure that there are no conflicting or contradicting information. We've mitigated risk in that 40% of the items that were previously rejected, because of the way the process that occurs, we've been able to identify, analyze that, and in many cases where the customer is providing their information directly into the portal, it is already identified to the customer that there is an error, and allows them to remediate and correct for that error ahead of it being submitted to the financial institution. When we look at our end-to-end solution, what do? We look at the onboarding, any resolicitation, or remediation. What do we mean by remediation? Whenever there is a change in circumstance or something that has effectively changed the status of the customer, the system itself will identify that to you and identify whether or not it can be cured with additional documentary evidence or requires recertification altogether. It takes the effort out of your people and your analysts of having to figure out, okay, which bucket does this go into, resolicitation or additional documentary evidence. The other aspect of the document collection process that it eases is that it flags it for you, so that you can go out and pull the information in and create that information directly into your system without having to go out and solicit the client. So where you have a certificate of incorporation or other documentary evidence that was used for KYC information, the system allows you to connect so that you can pull that information in and remediate the details properly. We have an intelligent reader for scan forms. Our OCR is proprietary. We're not using an out-of-the-box solution. So it's specifically targeted for tax documentation, reads, digitizes, and validates the face of the form, as well as can consume your books and records and do a cross-check against books and records to ensure that there are no data inconsistencies. What do we mean by that? Where you have a Form W-8 and everything about the form says that they're non-US, but on your books and records, you have a US residency address or mailing address, it will automatically flag that for you so that you know you need some supporting evidence in order to accept that document. It doesn't prevent you from accepting the document, but it flags it for you so that you're aware of what issues may occur. It also cross-checks against public information. So things like the IRS GIN list, it replicates. We cross-check against the ISO 3166 to ensure that the countries that are being utilized are internationally recognized countries. And we also cross-check against most of the exchange information, especially since specific elections within the forms may identify you as a publicly traded entity. Our classification process aligns to both the classifications that are on the form, but also maps to the reporting classifications. And it's designed in such a way so that it can easily integrate into reporting solutions, such as the one that TWC is offering, so that the information comes directly from TAINA, goes into TWC, and they can identify all of the customers that fit within a specific reporting regime, so that it makes it seamless that the only information that they need to collect at that point should be the account and the account balances and transaction data that may need to be reported. We have simplified audit trails so that if there are discrepancies or issues with the data, it would be easy to clean up and resolve those issues very easily within the system. Also provides you a trail of if a record was changed or touched, you can easily identify who changed it, when was it changed, and why it was changed, so that you have a full reconciliation of what has happened in the system away from your own internal books and records, so that you can always reconcile your books and records to the activities that occurred within the application. What I'd like to show you here is just an image of how the original scanned form was digitized by the system. And it actually does look at each character and translates each character. This also then reconciles back to the name. As you see, the name at the top in this area represents the name as it's coming from the books and records of the customer and of your books and records for the customer, and allows us to do that reconciliation. The form also provides whether or not the results themselves are valid or invalid, meaning that is this form fit for purpose so that you can utilize it? If it is not, it will identify the reasons for rejection. And here it says the name of the securities market in line 37B, line 2 does not match an established securities market list in the UK HMRC. So that it's actually tried to do the cross-check of the US list of the public listing, and has identified a discrepancy in that listing information. Our solution at a glance, as I mentioned before, uses a unique patent scanned forms validation module, which has proprietary OCR. We have the online withholding validation, the online FATCA and CRS validation modules, which also is usable on a mobile device. It automatically scales and identifies the equipment that is being used on a mobile device and sets the resolution to that device so that everything is readable and legible. A lot of applications, when they deploy for mobile, they just shrink their natural screens. No, we've designed it so that the layout changes depending on the device so that it becomes easily readable. We have a withholding tax calculation module so that if any of the activities are subject to withholding tax, in the US, we will publish what that withholding rate is so that you can easily execute your withholding depending on the activity type and the type of transaction that is being executed. We have our audit portal, and our audit portal does allow you to track all of the changes, and we'll be deploying a responsible officer module in the near future that will allow you to reconcile details that need to be identified to show if you have compliance and you're meeting your obligations as a responsible officer. Our application can be deployed either on premises or in the cloud, your cloud, so it's always behind your firewall. But for some of our smaller institutions where they need us to host, we do have a hosting solution as well, where we can deploy in a cloud dedicated just for that particular customer and allow them to have dedicated access to that cloud-based deployment. Here are some of the pain points that we try to focus on when we're looking at at some of our institutions. We look at the difficulty in meeting the compliance, understanding of the rules, ensuring that we're meeting any of the policy issues that the particular institution needs to handle. Then we analyze what is the operational cost. What is the cost of human error, and try to identify how we can eliminate any of those input errors, and then try to eliminate any disparate systems so that we can consolidate and unify your processes across all of those systems. Then we also try to deploy our client-facing process so that they are first branded for the institution that we're deploying to. We ensure that they have minimal touch points so that the number of clicks they execute in order to get a document completed is the minimal number of clicks necessary, and that there's no delays between information being submitted and when it gets to the institution so that they can execute. We eliminate that whole mail-in process so that this way you don't have to worry about delays in the mail. You don't have to worry about the back and forth of once you receive a physical document, having to physically send that back to the customer so that they can remediate any issues. Once they scan it, any of the results of that scanned form can be published back to the customer to identify where any deficiencies are so that they can remediate those deficiencies. So trying to scale back the amount of time for you to execute and process documents. Our platform is very flexible. We try to configure to match any of your existing processes so that this way we're not changing how you operate. As I mentioned before, it can be deployed in cloud or on premise. It is cloud and database agnostic. So if you have specific data, if you're on a .NET or if you're on a Sybase type of setup, we can configure and change according to what your needs are. We can accommodate some of your own tax forms. So if you have customized combined FATCA CRS forms, we can actually configure our process to read that form and just execute the validation rules against the key components of that form so that we maintain compliance while still deploying with your forms. Our systems are developed so that we can train our OCR to adapt to those forms as long as all of the required fields are within the form. We work with different business lines so that if you need to have separation, our system is a multi-tenanted system and allows for separation amongst business lines so that you can permission specific customers along business lines so that there is no crossing across various business groups. We do allow for remediation at scale. And when we deploy with most of our customers, we also ensure that they have a test system so that any of our future deployments are first put into the test system, validated by the customer before it's deployed into production. And that actually does summarize, as mentioned before, if there are any questions around technical guidance and ensuring the use of information or how that information would need to be validated, you can speak to Rocher. Evgeny is here as our reporting expert and supporting transfer compliance. If we have a few minutes, Rocher, I could do a quick form. I'm not sure how we are on time.
Yes, we are pretty on time, Rashid. So I was planning to ask you if you can take some time to dive into those forms.
Great. So let me just also share. So everyone should be able to see my platform. This is our dashboard. This is obviously this is unbranded. It's just TAINA at the top. Normally where you see TAINA, we would brand it with the institution's information. And a lot of our color schemas would match that institution as well. What you're seeing here in the system right now is the dashboard of the various forms and the states they're in. What you can see is for this particular item, it's under initial review. These are ones that are pending review. And then you can see that there are various statuses that we can filter for to look for things that are in secondary review or are fully completed. So the dashboard itself does give you a lot of flexibility to be able to identify many of the different statuses, allows you to sort and filter on demand so that this way you can see specific information. At the top of the screen, you can actually, on the upper right-hand corner, there is an add form feature. We click on the add form feature. You can actually identify the legal entity that you're applying a document to. And this is a test system, so we're not using any real customer data. And as you can see, we have the option of you can either type in the customer ID or you can start typing the name and it will identify the account that you are looking for. So that this way it makes it very flexible and easy to retrieve a record. Then we're going to select the type of form we want to validate. You can either drag the file directly into the system, or you could click and then select the file that you would like to have scanned. And we're actually going to do a handwritten form, so you can see that the OCR works with handwritten forms and how well it actually can interpret that form. What you're seeing on screen right now is it's digitizing that form as well as validating the form on the face of it, looking at things like the GIN information and confirming all of the details as it relates to the books and records of the institution. Upon completing this process, it will give me a side-by-side of the digitized form as well as the actual original form so that we can see all of the details that were processed. As you can see, it's actually done a check. It's given me some validation issues, meaning that the country on line 7 does not match an ISO 3166 list. The GIN is not in the expected format, and that the foreign TIN is missing on line 9B. Now, this is mandating the foreign TIN because I executed the form as if I were a U.S. withholding agent. So as we know, for a U.S. withholding agent, anytime you're collecting a W series form, you must require a TIN or an explanation as to why the TIN is not present. If we were to open up the original form, what we can see, and I'm just going to hide the top very quickly. What we see is the original form to the left, the digitized version to the right, and you could see how it interpreted all of the information, the check boxes. And then when we get down to the lower section, we could see that it like with any OCR and looking at handwritten forms, it did interpret the country incorrect here. And when we click on our box, it's going to give you the most probable answers based upon character matches. And we know that it's going to be Japan, so we're going to select Japan. As well as it interpreted the 4 as a U in the JIN. Again, when we click on the JIN, it's going to go to the IRS's JIN list. It's going to list the most probable answer based upon the number of based upon character matches, and allows you to select the text so that this way you can validate the form. Now that's how quick and easy it is to do a side-by-side comparison and make changes to the form in order to revalidate the form. Now if we click validate form, the only thing that will still remain is the fact that the treaty relief does not exist. It's actually done a cross-check, and because I'm in the test system, we did not load this particular customer completely, so it is showing a books and records mismatch. But it's telling us that the foreign TIN is missing. So we're going to remediate the foreign TIN, and I'm going to show you that there are easy ways to remediate where a foreign TIN is not present, but it is required. I'm just going to close the original form very quickly. We have the ability to upload supporting evidence. We can identify that the client has given us an attestation that no TIN was issued, and then we're going to select TIN not issued. We're going to upload that document directly into the system. Once we go through and we upload it and we click validate, it now has changed to a valid form. It has remediated all of the issues and now shows you that there is a supporting document attached. So that depending on the number of supporting documents and other information that is provided, you are always aware that in addition to the form, there is other documentation to support the process that was executed. And now we can go in and submit this form for secondary processing. And now we'll see at the top of the list. Actually, I had to filter this. I forgot to take the filter off. So what we're going to do is come back in and we're going to go into our all forms. We're going to refilter or clear our filter or clear our sort. And once we clear everything out, we can see the document is there at the top, waiting for a secondary review and is available for anyone to process. Now, this is open, so anyone that has ability to do a secondary evaluation could click on the document to reopen it. But also, if I wanted someone to specifically look at this document and look at a few others, I can select those documents and set them up and say I want to assign those to a user and assign it to one of our other users within the system that have access. And then it will set the user to be assigned to that party. Does give you a lot of flexibility to be able to do so and to be able to make those adjustments and to process documents very easily. As you saw, that was our ability to bring in a scanned form and process the scanned form almost end to end. It just needs a secondary review, and the secondary reviewer would just be able to access and open. Now, if I saw, we had assigned this to Joanne. If I wanted to go back into it, I can assign it back to me, and it allows me to go into the document and execute any secondary processing that I wanted to do. Any questions? Some of the other features that are available within the system is that we do have our management information. And it allows you to look at all of the details that were processed. It gives you a breakdown of valid versus invalid forms. And you can actually set trend analysis. I didn't select it, but you can set trend analysis to see over time how accurate or how good your process is at collecting valid forms over a period of time. Additionally, if you wanted to zoom into a particular form type, you can click to zoom into that form type, and it will give you the specific results. And then you can undo filter just to go back to the original data. In addition, if you click download to Excel, it will give you not just the charts, it'll give you all of the customer data that is associated to the information on the chart in an Excel file so that you can create additional pivots or do other data analytics against that information. With that, I'd like to thank you all for taking a look and seeing our demo. This data will drive a lot of the classification information that will ultimately feed into a reporting process as what Transworld is looking to collect. Helps with some of the data issues. Obviously, any information that is pulled from our system and put into your own local system may need additional conversion in order to get into Transworld, but we can do that data conversion directly from TAINA into Transworld without, and it would be seamless so that they would collect the information as if they're getting it directly from your records. Thank you, Roger.
Okay, many thanks, Rashid, for the presentation, and also Eugenie, many thanks for showing those demos. So now we want to see if we can have a short Q&A, if there are any questions that are coming in. As I said earlier, participants feel free to chop in any questions into the Q&A session. We have a couple of minutes left, so we still want to make sure that we can answer all the questions that you may have. And while we're waiting for these questions to come in, we also have some additional questions. For example, we know that there are unfortunately a lot of clients that haven't reported since the reporting date, 2014 for FATCA and 2016 for CRS. So they haven't submitted any reporting up and until now. And I'm looking at you, Eugenie. Are you able to help those clients to still report, let's say, retrospectively in catching up with all these years?
Absolutely. That's why rule bases are flexible and customizable. We'll change the reporting period, eventually the rules for, back in the days, and they can clean their data and create the XML necessary for that reporting year. Absolutely.
Okay, that's good to know. As I said, especially for the clients that haven't reported anything since the initial reporting day, good to know that we can also help them out to catch up with all these outstanding reportings. And then for you, Rashid, so we've seen a pretty powerful tool with the OCR technology where a lot of handwritten forms can be scanned in, and the information will be detected and it will be validated. I know that we serve a lot of clients where they are still using those paper-based / handwritten forms. So that is good to know that your engine is also capable in digitalizing those forms. But what about languages? Is the system also capable in handling different languages?
So the IRS does have a requirement that any form that is officially submitted, that it would be in English. But for CRS purposes, the process itself for converting it into local language is fairly straightforward. The process literally looks for information in certain positions in certain fields in order to pull it in. So language is not an issue. We actually have found that where companies want to deploy in local language are online and mobile solutions, because they automatically convert into local language and can be set to specific languages. It makes it much easier for collection of documentation, especially when the customer can read the information in local language.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And Eugenie, I thought the reporting tool of TWC was also capable of handling different languages. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The platform itself, momentarily, we have in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And the support you also can get in Dutch. I speak Dutch. We don't have the platform in Dutch, but I can do trainings and give support in the Dutch language.
Yeah, I think you should highlight that as well, for sure. Is that our platform itself, the back office can be set to local language as well.
Okay, thanks for that clarification, Rashid, and also for your answer, Ashini. And then I know in the last session we also had a question regarding pooled reporting. If you're allowed to still apply a pooled reporting. And as an accountant slash auditor, I'll give an answer that you often hear from auditors, but it really depends. Why am I saying that? For example, if you're in a Model 2 jurisdiction and you have certain account holders, let's say a recalcitrant group of account holders, then those account holders, you should be able to report them by using pooled reporting. Make sure that when you're using pooled reporting, that the accounts that are being reported are more or less identical. So for example, if you have a pool with recalcitrant account holders, probably you should split them up into recalcitrant account holders with US indicia and probably recalcitrant account holders without US indicia, but make sure that the groups that you're reporting are consistent. So that is regarding pooled reporting. And then I think we also had a question coming in regarding minors. Should you report minors as a financial institution? Well, also I would say it depends. In general, the FATCA rules and regulations are saying that if someone has US indicia and if someone is reportable, that they should be reported. However, I think if you're dealing with a minor, you want to make sure that the ones who are signing off on those documents, probably you want those documents to be co-signed with either a parent or a guardian. So I think that those are the things that you need to keep into consideration when you're dealing with minors. And so up and until now, I don't see any additional questions coming in. Rashid, Ashini, is there anything that you would like to add? And otherwise, I'll skip to the next slide.
I'd like, sorry. I'd like to comment on the pooled reporting. It's something our tool can help clients with.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I was going to comment on the minors. Our platform has been configured so that if a minor, if you're submitting a document on behalf of a minor, it does look for a parent or guardian. It does identify that as a capacity so that it can capture and allow for a parent or guardian to execute the form.
Okay, fantastic. Then we also have those 2 points covered regarding pooled reporting and also if you want to report on minors. So that's good to know. Anything else from the panel? Otherwise, I'll skip through the next slide. But if anything pops into your mind where you're like, probably this is something that I want to add, feel free. No? Okay. So what I will be doing now, I'll go through, let's say, the next slide. And I need to be able to share my screen over here. So let's see. Probably you should be able to see my screen now.
Absolutely.
So what we want to address now is really the holistic approach. What we're always telling our clients is you can report 4, 5, or you can report no accounts or 1,000 accounts. But how do you know that your reporting is accurate and complete? Because at the end of the day, that is what's important. How do we know that our reporting is accurate and complete? More important, how can we demonstrate that we've done those procedures and that we have an audit trail to make sure that we can always show to a regulator or to an auditor that we have conducted the right procedures? Those are very important steps. So what you see over here on this slide is if you would look at processes, internal controls, data cleansing, classification of entities, especially from an audit perspective, those things are important. What we see is that sometimes clients would send out a reporting. but they cannot demonstrate how they came to their reporting. So it's important to have in place the right processes, the right internal controls. Also, if you're doing your data cleansing, that you do have a track record of how you're cleansing your data. For example, if you're sending out a request to a client to give you information, you need to monitor that within 90 days, for example, he or she responded back. If you do this on a manual basis, probably you'll have a hard time to demonstrate that you waited 90 days, that you reminded your clients. If you do it manually, you're really going to have a hard time in demonstrating that you're following up on all these things correctly. What we also see with regards to the classification of entities, entities should be classified. Sometimes we would see that you have similar entities with the same facts and circumstances, but that those entities with the same background, same facts and circumstances are being classified differently in the end. And that is very difficult to defend if you have two entities with the same facts and circumstances where you would have different classifications at the end. I'm seeing a question coming in, and I do want to look at this question. So the question that we're getting in here is, can the TWC system be installed, or is it a cloud-based program? Eugenie, if you want to answer this one.
It's either one. You can either have it installed on your premises behind your firewall, or you can use one of our AWS or Azure clouds that we have worldwide.
Okay, thanks. I think that answers this question. Feel free to send in more questions. We do have a couple of more minutes left, and we want to answer as many questions as possible. While we're waiting for these questions, if we go back to the presentation, point 4 is also an important one regarding the responsible officer certifications. We know that responsible officers, they need to certify. As long as you don't have a good process in place, as long as you don't cleanse your data the way it should be cleansed, as long as you don't have an accurate and complete reporting in the end, it will be very difficult for you as a responsible officer to certify on your FATCA and CRS procedures. So make sure that you think about that, how you're doing it now, and how this holistic approach can help you down the road. And then at the end, sometimes financial institutions would also ask for an independent expert verification. Once they have done all the steps before, sometimes they would like to have an independent expert looking at those rules and procedures and controls that they have in place. But so you really need to start on the right foot in order to make sure that you can get to accurate and complete reports, that you have an audit trail, and that you can certify on everything that you have done as a responsible officer. Then I'm looking at the Q&A box. I don't see any additional questions coming in there. So what I would like to do is I want to skip to the next slide, where you would see primarily our contact information. So you do see the contact information here of TAINA. You do see the contact information here of TWC. We will also send in this presentation, and we also made a recording. So we will make that available for you as a participant. So if you do have any additional questions, you can always refer back to the slide, refer back to our contact information, and reach out to us. So with that said, I think that we can conclude this session. We're not seeing any additional questions coming in. So we do want to thank all of you, especially the participants, also you, Eugenie and Rashid, for showing those demos. If there isn't anything that you would like to add from your side, then I want to conclude this session. So Eugenie, is there anything from your end?
Nothing else to say. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Participants, thank you very much for attending. And if there is any way we can help you, please feel free to contact us.
Thank you, Ashani. Rashid, is there anything else from your end?
No, I just want to again, like Evgeny, thank everyone for participating and for listening. You know, if there are any questions that we can answer at any point in time, please feel free to reach out. You could reach out to Rocher, or you could reach out to us directly, and we're happy to address any questions.
Okay, then I want to thank you both. I want to thank you, participants. And as I said earlier, be on the lookout for our follow-up email where we will be sending the presentation and also the recording. Thanks for your time and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.